What's up YouTube? It's fight week, fellas! Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier, the trilogy goes down this Saturday. If you guys saw that fight promo, you might have heard Becky Lynch's voice calling the masses to rally behind her fellow Irishman. This week I want to look at the business of professional wrestling, looking at the mythical land of open hand punches and leg slaps, and see what pro wrestlers stepped outside the squared circle and into the squared octagon. Here's 10 pro wrestlers that fought in MMA. Number 10, CM Punk, the greatest wrestler turned fighter. No, I'm just kidding. Probably the worst wrestler turned pro fighter. CM Punk captivated the wrestling world, forging a path on the independent scene before signing with the WWE in 2005. During this time, Punk would become a two-time Money in the Bank winner, an Intercontinental Champion, a Tag Team Champion, the ECW Champion, a World Heavyweight Champion, and a WWE Champion, holding the title for 434 days, the longest in the modern era. The man led a cult of personality that would wage war against the WWE machine until he eventually just walked out in 2014 because he was like, nah, just screw this, bro. In December of that year, Punk was signed a UFC deal, and his first fight would eventually be against Mickey Gall, a young jiu-jitsu style fighter, in 2016. Gall was 13 years younger than Punk and had like a billion trillion years more experience, so you know how that went. Third round, rear naked choke. L. Round 2 against Mike Jackson. L. Now Punk is a commentator for CFFC. Number 9, Bam Bigelow. A man built like a globe that you would see in your second grade classroom. Had the grace to fly in the ring like a flying squirrel with a head tattoo. Bam was one of the most unique stars in the early 90s, bringing his talent to 4 major brands: New Japan Pro Wrestling, ECW, WCW, and then WWF, where he was most well known for having a WrestleMania 11 main event match against Lawrence Taylor. After his first run in ECW, Bigelow would compete for Japanese promotion New Japan MMA, where in his first fight he made Punk look like Punk was like good, cause like he lasted longer. Losing the exact same way Punk did to a rear naked choke, Bam lost in the first round. So 2 years later, he revealed in an interview that he was actually asked to throw in the fight for $100,000. And if he was really getting paid $100K, I mean, like, low-key, I'd fall too. Number 8, Razor. Here's the real deal so far. The guy's a former NXT and Raw Tag Team Champion, but before he did all that, he was in the MMA world. He was one half of the Authors of Pain, or AOP for short, managed by the legendary Paul Ellering and the more legendary Drake Maverick. These two brick house men look like they ate bowls of nails for breakfast. And that's probably because they're two of the most legit guys in the WWE that were in the WWE. They just be releasing everybody. Razor made his MMA debut on July 8, 2012. Razor knocked this fool out with a knee left hook combo. He would eventually fight for Shoto Europe Pro, Final Fight Championship, and he would actually debut in Bellator before leaving MMA for the WWE. Number 7, Alberto Del Rio. Yeah, we hate you, Del Rio, but like, respect on the fact they're able to step into an octagon, because if I tried that, I would get murdered. ADR in his time in WWE won the US World Heavyweight and WWE Championships on 2 separate occasions. But Alberto always had an on and off again MMA career while wrestling. He used to sport a mask and octagon while wrestling under the name Dos Caras Jr., debuting for Deep, winning his first fight via TKO, a broken arm. He'd also face the same guy, Kengo Wannabe. I definitely butchered your name, I'm sorry. He fought him in a rematch and lost, so in spirit trilogies, run it back. He continued fighting in 2004, and after a loss at Pride 27, he wouldn't re-enter the octagon until 2007, fighting through 2010 until he was eventually signed by the WWE. At this point, ADR was 9-5, winning 7 of his fights by submission. And once leaving WWE for the second time in 2016, he'd be named the president of Combate Americas. And what's the first thing you do as a former athlete when you get any type of power and be in a suit? Book yourself in the main event. Good job. You worked for Jeff Jarrett at one point, so fair enough. So ADR decided, hey, I haven't fought Tito Ortiz, a UFC legend, a lightweight champion. Yeah, let's try it. Sure, I haven't been in an octagon in like 6 years. Let me fight this icon. I'll go, well, it didn't. Like, it really didn't. No one thought you were gonna win. Bit of a boring fight, because you just got your butt kicked. Number 6, Shinsuke Nakamura. Fun fact, while he was under a New Japan contract, he was actually offered a UFC deal back in 2005, but he was like, nah, fam, I'm finna wrestle. Kind of worked out in his favor. Now he's in WWE, he's main event a lot of shows, and he's living life. This came after a successful MMA run with 3 wins and 1 loss, all by submission. Actually, the 1 loss was his debut, so after he got beat once, he was like, bro, no, we ain't going like that. While still wrestling for New Japan at the time, eventually becoming IWGP Intercontinental Champion and IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and now a former NXT Champion, and former Intercontinental Champion, and former US Champion, and SmackDown Tag Team Champion, and why wasn't he WWE Champion, where gets AJ Styles when it mattered? They just get each other in the balls every single time, and he should just won at WrestleMania. Whatever. Point is, Shinsuke did really good when he was in MMA. And he could have gone to UFC, so we could have been seeing a whole new type of Shinsuke. Number 5, Brock Lesnar. I mean, I could tell tell y'all about it, but I think you guys are already gonna know the whole deal. Brock might be one of the only few athletes that's ever competed under 3 major sports organizations of the WWE, the UFC, and the NFL. A standout collegiate athlete, winning the NCAA Division I championship, eventually signed the WWE, being the youngest undisputed champion against The Rock, pinning pretty much every big name in the business at that point. He left WWE back in 2005, I believe, went to New Japan, went to NFL, then went to the UFC, and that's when it went down. Never actually competing in MMA, he used that mainstream appeal that he already had being in WWE and just launched it with his actual wrestling ability to just land himself in the biggest MMA company in the world. Something that CM Punk also did, but like Lesnar did it, and he just like won stuff and became successful, and yeah. Sporting a record of 5 wins and 3 losses in 1 no contest, Lesnar managed to become the UFC heavyweight champion after defeating Randy Couture at UFC 91. Lesnar was undoubtedly one of UFC's biggest draws at the time and put more eyes and attention on a division that was already stacked. I mean, they had the likes of Frank Mir, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, and again, Randy Couture. Number 4, Jake Hager. Actually, he's the only person on this list that's actively still fighting while also wrestling. Hager splits his time between Bellator and being a member of the Inner Circle on AEW Dynamite. Hager was also a wrestler in college at the University of Oklahoma as a 2-sport athlete, also playing football. Named an All-American before graduating and through a connection with Jim Ross, Hager would eventually sign to the WWE, becoming an ECW and World Heavyweight Champion. Using his name value, Hager was signed to the Bellator promotion in 2017 and debuted at Bellator 214, winning his debut via submission in the first round with an arm triangle choke. He used that same submission at Bellator 221, and with the fight ending with no contest due to like an accidental groin shot against Anthony Garrett at Bellator 231. He fought one more time at Bellator 250, winning via decision, and hopefully we see this bouncing of a man get back in the cage again. Number 3, Batista. In 2010, the former 6-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion decided to walk out of the ring and into a cage. Batista has always trained jiu-jitsu, earning a purple belt and transitioning those skills into an octagon, leading to his debut at the Classic Entertainment and Sports event in Rhode Island in 2012. He was originally supposed to face Rashard Evans, but due to a parole violation, Evans was back in jail, and his opponent was eventually switched, fighting this journeyman that had like 40 fights under his belt. Like, come on, bro, like, is that really fair? After a somewhat sloppy fight, like, I mean, it didn't look like the best, but it wasn't bad either. Batista won the first round via TKO. He hasn't entered the cage again, and with a thriving acting career, I don't think we're gonna be seeing the animal back in the cage anytime soon. Number 2, Thunder Rosa. One of the most popular women's wrestlers outside the WWE, Thunder Rosa has made a name for herself in Lucha Underground, the NWA, and All Elite Wrestling. In 2019, it was confirmed that the former NWA World's Women's Champion signed a contract at Combate Americas at the San Antonio event where she stepped into the octagon. Unfortunately, it wasn't her night. And with it being her only fight right now, it didn't really end in her favor, losing by unanimous decision in the 3rd round. And considering she's still in her prime of her career, I think an MMA return is not off the table, brother. And finally, number 1, Bobby Lashley. The almighty WWE champion returned back to WWE in 2018 after a stint in TNA and in Bellator. Surprisingly, Lashley never got an opportunity to fight in the UFC. And while the super fight in a cage or in a ring between himself and Brock Lesnar has yet to go down, Lashley actually has a better record, sporting 15 wins and 2 losses. Is it because the UFC had better heavyweights, so maybe Lashley wouldn't have won against those guys? Or is it that Lashley is just a better fighter than Lesnar? That's something to ponder, isn't it? From wrestling in high school, college, and the army, Bobby was a legit athlete. Once leaving WWE in 2008, he dominated Joshua Franklin in his debut fight in 41 seconds. A super fight between himself and MMA legend Bob Sapp. After a quick double leg takedown, he laid those hands into the man. Earning some gold, Lashley is a 1-time Shark Fights and XFN heavyweight champion. Debuting at Bellator 2014, he had a 5-fight win streak while wrestling for TNA, becoming their heavyweight champion before eventually re-signing with the WWE. He might not have gotten that UFC contract, but I think his current position might be better for the 44-year-old who's put on some great heavyweight brawls since capturing the top prize in professional wrestling. But yeah, guys, in the comments down below, what other pro wrestlers have also fought in MMA? And who do you guys have winning at UFC 264? Because I'm a McGregor guy. That might sound like a bandwagon, but I don't care. I got McGregor. Let me know in the comments down below, but make sure to like, comment, share, always subscribe, and we outie.
We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze.